Hello everyone, Quinn here, and today I want to talk about why I think Pokemon Arceus and the remakes are gonna be bad. And just as a disclaimer, if you like them, that's absolutely fine. I'm not gonna say you have to dislike them, I'm just gonna give my piece of the cake as to why I think they're not gonna be as good as people assume, if anyone still assumes they're gonna be good. So, Pokemon Pearl and Diamond remakes are coming out on November 19th, 2021, and Arceus comes out in January 28th, 2022. And I'm gonna start with the remakes. I think they're horrible, absolutely horrible. Pokemon has a relatively good history with their remakes. The first remakes that we've gotten were Fire Red and Leaf Green, and those were fantastic. Still, some of the best Pokemon games ever released. Then came Heart Gold, Soul Silver, absolute bangers. And then there was a break, and everyone asked when's Gen 3 gonna get a remake, and then we got that with Omega and Alpha, and those were okay for the most part. I don't think they're perfect. I think they have a lot of flaws, but I think they did a lot of things good and innovated in areas where I feel they did good, like the Latios thing. Though I think they could have gone a bit deeper into that. So now we're at the Gen 4 remakes, and they are horrible to look at, in my opinion. I know that some people like how they look. I personally just don't. But to me, they look like off-brand Funko Pops, and I don't like Funko Pops to begin with because they look like terrible Nendoroids. And I feel they are just carbon copies of the original game, just translated to 3D and put on the Switch, which in its essence isn't a bad thing, because people wanted to play this thing again. There's a lot of people who haven't played them, but I think they just didn't do what people wanted them to. If they were smart, they would have gone the route of Omega and Alpha, because those were like the first 3D remakes, and I think they worked for what they were. And Diamond and Pearl remakes, no, I have no hope for those. I think it's just going to be a carbon copy, and I do not know why they just didn't make it platinum. I mean, you could ask the same question with Emerald in the remakes, but the thing is that I feel like Platinum did improve the game a lot more and added more content to it than it originally had than Emerald did to Alpha and Sapphire. Though some people will hunt me for that because of the Battle Tower and all that, but the Battle Tower was cut to begin with, so I'm just gonna leave that out there. The thing is that I feel Game Freak was just like, we're not gonna touch this thing. We don't care. So they handed it off to another company and set on Arceus. And the thing with the other company handling it, I don't know that other company. I don't know what they did. I didn't look it up. Well, I'm happy that Game Freak is finally at the point where they're like, oh, we're going to handle this thing, and we're going to give the remakes or whatever that's not like the next main thing to another company, because that's something that a lot of people wanted from Game Freak for a long time. But I have zero hopes for this because, like I said, I think it's just going to become copy. And from what we've seen so far, that is the most likely scenario. And the bonus, the good thing is, though, I think it's gonna be done on the time it releases. Because if it's just a remake, then whatever. It's not gonna be the best thing in the world, but it's gonna work. And that's the thing. Like, there's not much in it. I'm pretty sure they're gonna base it on one of the previous engines, like either the Let's Go thing or they're gonna build it on Sword and Shield, which I hope they don't. And then we have Arceus. Arceus is bad. It's bad. It's really bad. This is the new main title in the series, if we can call it like that. And if we made any experience with Game Freak, they have no clue what to do with the Switch. I mean, we're talking about a console that can play Breath of the Wild, Xenoblade 2, Monster Hunter, and other games, and they look fantastic on the console. Now we have Arceus. And just from the trailer they released when they announced this game, you could see that the game wasn't running it wasn't even running at 20 frames at some points. It was just dropping frames everywhere. And if you look at Sword and Shield, you can tell that Game Freak just has no fucking clue what to do. They just sit in front of this thing and be like, how can we fuck this up any further? Because Game Freak has their heads so far up their ass, they are completely unwilling to accept any kind of help from other companies in the mainline products. Like I said, I was glad that they handed the remake to another company, but Sword and Shield could have used that. Just that. They blatantly lied about some things, like the models, for instance, and it put a lot of distrust in me. I had a lot of hope for Sword and Shield, I'll be honest, because I'm a Pokemon fan at heart. I love the franchise. But Sword and Shield was just such a massive disappointment in like every area. The gameplay was dull, the story was blah, it felt rushed, especially towards the end. The graphics were horrible for what it is. Like, you can't tell me that this is like the next generation of Pokemon. Like, holy shit, fucking Sun and Moon look better on the DS than Sword and Shield does on the Switch. Like, yes, the models are a bit more high poly, but it doesn't matter if the game runs at like 10 frames a second. Like, especially in the wild area, if you have multiplayer enabled, and you can't tell me that this is like a latency issue. No, this is just the game running like garbage. And then you have games like Xenoblade, Breath of the Wild, Monster Hunter, Smash, who run fine, and they look better. This is entirely on Game Freak's end in this regard. And Arceus is going to suffer the same problem because they have an open world, and I'm just going to go out of the limb and say it's the same engine that Breath of the Wild uses. Because Game Freak, Nintendo, they work together, and I'm just going to guess they got the license right with that and be like, you know what, we're just going to use that and put our own code in it. And you can tell that, and it just doesn't look right to me. It really doesn't. And when I saw this, I was like, okay, if they give this like November, December 2022, I'm going to believe this. Then I'm going to say they might be able to pull it off because that's a believable time if they have help from Nintendo with this. But then they announced the date today of January 28th, 2022, which is a bit more than half a year away, which is roughly a year after they announced this thing, and I'm just looking at it, they're really trying to rush this, don't they? They saw the hype on Pokemon and they tried to capitalize it on much as they can, and it shows. It really shows. And that's why I have zero hopes for this. It's just gonna be an absolute shitfest of a game. It's gonna run terribly, look awful in a lot of places, because I don't think they're gonna fix the texturing issue if they can't even get the frame rate to work. The gameplay is gonna be super clunky or super boring. Like, Game Freak only knows one of these two to do in a game. We have not seen any great gameplay or anything from them in the last 2 decades. And yeah, that's what I think about that. I mean, people might argue, but Game Freak can turn it around. But the thing is, they worked on their own RPG, which I think most people don't even remember that is a thing. And that thing was a buggy mess. I didn't play it myself. I saw stuff from it. I saw how it worked, and that the game was a disaster, and nobody cares about it. And Game Freak knows, because they wanted to get away from Pokemon for a time because of that. Because they were like, oh, we're gonna make our own game, and it's gonna be great. But then they released it, nobody gave a shit, and Game Freak was like, oh fuck, we need that money from Pokemon. And yeah, Game Freak is kind of stuck in that eternal loop where they just pump out game after game after game after game instead of making something good. And I think it's partially the Pokemon Company's fault, but I think a lot of it is on Game Freak themselves, because if they had the balls to do this, they would just walk up to Pokemon Company and be like, you know, guys, we need help. We need help with this. It's a big project. We need more people. We need someone else to handle these aspects of the game. And yeah. And the thing is that people done the open world Pokemon formula in fucking Unreal or Unity or whatever years ago, and it didn't really work. I mean, sure, they aren't Game Freak. They are not professional developers most of the time. They mostly don't know what they're doing. But do you think Game Freak can pull this off? Seriously? Game Freak couldn't even make a normal Pokemon game work. How are they going to make that work? And I think that is the part that scares me, because Game Freak is going to rake in a ton of money anyway. It doesn't matter. To them, it really doesn't. Because they can release the same shitty game every year, and they're still going to rake in tons of money, because parents are going to buy this for the kids. They're going to love it because they have no fucking idea what it's about. They just know it's Pokemon. And hardcore fans will buy them. They will defend them to the death. Some will complain, but they're still going to buy the game. And in the end, the sales numbers are what matters to them. And I personally think people should wait until they buy these games. Wait for the reviews, look at the footage, and then decide to buy them, and not pre-order any of this garbage. I mean, people say a lot, oh, don't pre-order. But the thing is, I pre-order some games because I have hope in them, right? That's kind of how it works. And most of the time when I pre-order something, I'm very confident in the product itself, and most of the time I'm proven right. I mean, the last game that I pre-ordered, let me think. Mass Effect Trilogy, the remake. And I mean, yeah, it's fine. It works. And I didn't pre-order Sword and Shield, despite hoping that they would be good, but I didn't have the kind of hope in the game that I did in other titles, like say Dark Souls or Bloodborne, or any game that I play frequently. Because I saw the product and I was like, I hope they fix this, but I really don't think they will. And with Arceus, you can just look at it and be like, yeah, this is gonna be a disaster of cataclysmic proportions, isn't it? And some people might think to themselves, well, if it's bad, it's bad. You know, they're gonna patch that. And look at Sword and Shield. They didn't patch that shit. They didn't patch that shit. They fucking charged you for the stuff they cut out. Let's be honest about it. They don't give a shit. The DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield isn't bad, but the fact that they charge you $30 for that stuff, which should have been in the main game to begin with, is atrocious. Because the main game can be finished in, I don't know, like 4-5 hours. And the Pokédex is a joke. It's just legitimately a joke. And even the DLC is kind of garbage in some regards, because they have so many fetch quests. I know Pokemon itself is a fetch quest, but like the Ductrius thing, for instance, that's just a giant fetch quest. And they focus so much on just franchising the entire thing so much that the thing that made Pokemon great, which are the main games and the TCG, are completely by the side and just die on their own. The TCG recently got some things which I really liked. I'm still not going to buy anything because of the hype, but the EV Hero stuff, especially the Ultra Rares in it and the special arts, beautiful cards, stunning cards. I mean, we all know they're going to cost like $400-500, but that's beside the point. They just look really good. But the games, right? The games should be better, because you can't reel in more people in the gaming audience with bad games. All you're gonna do is make a joke out of your product. Like, at that point, you're basically just Sonic, where people buy your games because they know they're gonna be bad. And Sega has been rolling with that. Like, they don't give a shit. They make money off that. I mean, Sonic Forces, Sonic 06, Sonic Unleashed, like, there's a few examples. I never was a huge fan of Sonic, but even I can see like some games are good, some are bad. But Sega doesn't care because they're still gonna make money off it. You know, they just gonna make one bad decision after one bad decision, because in the end it doesn't matter to them. They still get the fans to buy this shit. And Pokemon is going down the same route with the games. I mean, the spin-off games in the early era were fantastic. A lot of people remember the TCG on the Game Boy. I never played it myself, but I only heard good things about it. The games I did play myself were most of the DS spin-offs, like Pokemon Ranger, the Mystery Dungeon games. You know, those were fantastic games for the most part. I even played fucking Pokemon Channel on the GameCube, and I had fun with that. You know, I was a dumb child. I didn't care. I had Pokemon Coliseum, Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness. I had pretty much any Pokemon game under the stars, because Pokemon back then was just the shit. And these games still hold up today. Like, they are still fun. Yes, they have some bad aspects, but I still think they are really good. Especially like the more obscure spin-offs like Ranger, that Nintendo pretty completely forgot about. And I don't think they're gonna bring it back unless they're gonna do like a motion control thing on the Switch. But given the Joy-Con drift, I don't think they're gonna do that. Even the 3DS era had some decent spin-offs, but it wasn't anything to write home about. But the 3DS era is when Game Freak really saw what they could do with the monetization on the games, and Pokemon Home is the best example. Like, that was a feature that was previously built into the games, but like the transfer between Gen 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. Well, actually, I think Gen 5 to 6 was when Pokemon Home started. And Pokemon Home is just the stupidest thing ever. It's like, even the new one they did, I don't know what that was called, I think Pokemon Dream or whatever. And the issue with that is that it's just you have to pay for the interconnection and you have to pay for the program itself, which is just stupid. And then Nintendo makes so much money, they could have just made it free and be like, yeah, if you buy the subscription, you can just use this. But no, you have to pay extra for that. and that's why I never transferred my Pokemon over, because I don't think that should be a thing, considering it was free in the previous games and it doesn't hurt Nintendo in the least. And it's just a completely monetization thing, and I think Arceus and the remakes are gonna play into that heavily, even more so than Sword and Shield did. And I think especially Arceus is gonna pull some shady shit with that. I would not be surprised if they somehow implement microtransactions into the whole mess. I mean, they already kind of did with Sword and Shield, where you could buy Pokemon boosters, you got like codes for the game. I think it was in Japan. I have some of them here from the Shiny V. I've been told, I can't read Japanese, but I've been told you can enter this in the game and then get that as a raid. I'm completely fine if they give you that as like a gift or like a pre-order thing. But if you like actively have to hunt for these and booster packs, like that just kind of sounds like loot boxes to me, and that's not what Pokemon is about. It really isn't. And Game Freak knows that, but they don't care. Nintendo knows that they don't care. Creatures Inc. knows that they don't care. And you should realize that and just sit back and analyze the whole situation as it is and think about it. Do you really want to throw money into a company that doesn't give a shit about what it's doing with a franchise that's beloved by millions? Or do you just want to take a stand and be like, no, I'm not going to take this shit anymore. I'm going to sit down, and you produce your shitty games, I'm not going to buy them until you fix them. Because every year, more and more companies do this shit. Cyberpunk 2077 was a fucking mess when it released, and I mean, they at least took some credibility for that, and they are fixing it from what I know, but I still wouldn't buy that. There are other games which have that problem. No Man's Sky had the problem. I think that's one of the most notorious, but it turned around, which is good. Biomutant apparently has these issues too, but the game isn't like inherently broken. It's just kind of weird. But it's just an ongoing thing with gaming, that companies have to give less and less of a shit because people are gonna buy them anyway. They just hope that something is gonna be good, and that needs to stop. Not only for Pokemon but for everyone, but Pokemon especially, because Arceus should have been the thing that revolutionized Pokemon. Like, oh, we're gonna do this whole open world thing. You know, the thing that we kind of wanted to do in Sword and Shield but couldn't pull off. But now we're gonna do that, and it's gonna be completely different from everything we've done before. But it's just gonna be the same fucking garbage. Let's be real here, and that's a sad thing. That's a really sad thing. That a game that should have revolutionized what Pokemon is about already looks horrible in its announcement trailer. So yeah, that was my opinion on the whole thing. And don't pre-order this. Wait until it's out. Look at it and laugh at it. So yeah, this was Quinn, and I hope you liked the video. If you like it, leave a like, comment, whatever. If you don't like it, don't like it. I'll see you next time.